Hello, it's been a while. I've been very lazy. Video editing is a lot of time and effort, and when I generally lack both time and effort, videos will not get made. But I strive anyways for the people that give a shit about these primers, which is probably 3 people. This video will briefly cover all of Bedman's normals. I'll provide a description of an attack along with a general idea on how said normal is typically used. Let's begin. Part 1. Bedman standing normals. 5P is a high hitting jab. It's fast, has little recovery, and is cancelable on hit or whiff, so you can rapid fire 5P regardless if it hits or not. 5P is used as a check for low altitude approaches and is also good at hitting opponents if they overextend their own limbs. For example, many characters' far slash actually extend their hurt box considerably, so you can safely jab it with 5P. Bedman does not extend his own hurt box very far with 5P, so you can easily win those exchanges without much commitment. As such, 5P is considered Bedman's safest option to deter aggressive approaches. 5K is Bedman's dedicated low crush check. Bedman loses part of his lower hurt box after the startup of this attack, which allows it to beat some of your opponent's low attacks clean, if well timed. As such, 5K is a useful normal to check your opponent's sweep or slide attacks. The use of this attack is far more matchup dependent than most of his other normals. If you find a low attack that's giving you issues, you can integrate 5K more into your game plan. Close Slash is a proximity attack that only comes out if you're near the opponent. Close Slash is a fast attack that hits fairly high upwards. It has many uses. First and foremost, it's his best attack to option select throw with. An option select is a situation where you let the game or system mechanics decide the outcome of an attack. In this case, by holding forward and pressing both the slash and heavy slash button while close to your opponent, one of 2 things can happen. If your opponent is grounded, they will get thrown, because you inputted forward and heavy slash, which is the throw input. However, if you're slightly out of range of a throw, or your opponent is jumping, you get your really fast close slash attack, which is also air unblockable if they do not follow this defense. Use this option select whenever you attempt to throw. There's no reason to attempt to throw with just forward and heavy slash. Close slash is also the bread and butter for his most powerful combos. It's great for punishes as it leads to double hitting 5H, which is integral to most of his damaging combos. Lastly, Close Slash is 0 on normal block, meaning that you don't have to worry about being in a bad spot if your opponent guards it. It's a strong pressure tool. Far Slash is your typical far-reaching attack. This is Bedman's best attack when it comes to reach for his speed. This versatile normal is primarily used as a starting route for his pressure, while potentially chipping away at your opponent's life. 5H is Bedman's double swinging attack. This low attack hits somewhat far and is very active. It has some uses, but generally you'll find more use in his other attacks. There is hefty recovery on 5H. 5H is primarily used as a combo and block string tool, but in the neutral game it should not liberally be used. Its large active frames and reach can make it useful to deter some characters from running in recklessly, but his other normals could also suffice for that purpose. 5D is Bedman's dust attack. Dust attacks are universally overheads and must be blocked high. 5D is Bedman's only standing overhead. It's slow and telegraphed, but can easily still catch people off guard. 5D should not be excessively used, but it's a good tool to consider sometimes to keep your opponent on your toes. Should 5D hit, you can get a simple combo mid-screen with side dust by holding forward into a hard knockdown. In the corner, his rewards are a lot nicer because the opponent is in a wall splat state. 6H is Bedman's cross-up attack. This attack won me many tournaments and established myself as a legend among United States Guilty Gear players, with players like Lord of the Knights, Child Viper, 11 Shadow, and Bjorn, son of a bears. Hold on, that 6H no longer exists anymore, sorry for the confusion. 6H in Guilty Gear Rev 2 is a multi-punching attack. Pressing 6H once will have Bedman throw 2 punches, and pressing H again when one of the 2 hits make contact with the opponent will do the follow-up 2 punches. There are several purposes of this attack. Stringing into this attack allows you to gain a lot of distance. It's useful for pushing yourself out of the corner. You want to string into 6H from 5K generally. 6H also serves as a good combo material for some of his setups. Lastly, it's a good pressure tool that allows you to crank up your opponent's risk gauge. For those who do not know, Risk is a gauge that cranks up the more your opponent normal or instant blocks. The higher the risk gauge, the more damage they'll take if they get hit. It basically can be dangerous for them if they keep blocking. Past a certain point, the risk gauge will glow and your next attack is a guaranteed counter hit. Part 2. Bedman's Crouching Normals. Bedman's 2P is a fast attack that hits relatively far compared to other characters' 2Ps. As such, this is Bedman's best normal to break free out of your opponent's pressure. Bedman lacks strong defensive options, so using 2P to call out your opponent's pressure strings is an important thing to consider. Be warned, if your opponent frame traps you, or you mash 2P at the wrong time, you may end up eating a bad punish. Being ready to mash implies that you also must be ready to suffer the consequence of being a masher. If you're successful with your 2P, you are liberated and you earned your turn. If you're not successful, well, that's quite unfortunate. Develop your 2P sense early, if you can, and it will carry you very far. Study your opponent's block strings, or look for notable normals where you know the opponent is at a frame disadvantage. Or you can do what I do, and just mash 2P without much thought, and when it works, I wipe the drool from my mouth and I tell my opponent, I figured you out. Bedman's 2K is his fastest low attack. Like most low attacks, the purpose of 2K is to check if your opponent is guarding low. If they aren't, you can open them up with 2K and proceed to get a combo off of it. Bedman's 2S is a slower but farther reaching low attack. There are 3 main things to know about 2S. 2S is 0 on block, so you're not in a dangerous situation if the opponent blocks it and you choose not to do anything after. 2S lowers Bedman's hurt box more so than any of his other attacks. 2S can duck under some instant air dash attacks, which can put you in an advantageous situation. Lastly, 2S can cancel into 5H, which can lead to a lot of reward, whereas 2K cannot cancel to 5H. Bedman's 1H, 2H, and 3H are similar attacks with different properties. All 3 moves have him dig a bed hand through the floor and have it pop up somewhere on the stage. The directional input combined with the heavy slash button will dictate where the bed hand drill thing comes out. 1H goes right next to him, 2H goes somewhat far from him, 3H is nearly full screen. Despite all these attacks being similar, each one has a different dedicated purpose. 1H should only be used for combos or block strings. Despite what it may look like, it's a really awful anti-air. 1H is also distinct for launching the opponents, which correspond to what I said earlier about it being combo fodder. 2H is mostly used for pressure strings and to catch opponents who are about to jump or who are about to land in that spot. These attacks are air unblockable, which means the opponent has faultless defense to be able to block these in the air. 3H hits far away and is primarily useful in deterring opponents from setting up. These moves are versatile and valuable, but careless use will get you easily killed. Bedman has long startup when performing these attacks and even longer recovery. Bedman is also in counter hit state during the recovery, so if you whiff it, you are susceptible to a huge punish. Make sure to have meter to yellow Roman cancel or purple Roman cancel if you whiff it. If you block these attacks, you can simply jump cancel it and make a decision from there. Bedman's 2D is a sweep. This will be your primary combo fodder for various ground confirms. It's not a bad sweep overall and it's a lot of active frames to catch people off guard. Part 3. Bedman's air normals. JP is Bedman's defensive air normal. It's primarily used to protect yourself without a lot of commitment. He can be difficult to air throw if you throw out a lot of JPs and your opponent doesn't have a good angle to approach. JP is whiff cancelable, so you can throw this out constantly, but JP does not go far, so be careful if your opponent can hit you with sophomore reaching attack. JP is also very valuable as a very fast overhead option, and will be useful for your air dash pressure. JK is Bedman's best air normal to strike people below him. It mostly has similar uses to JP, but JK hits further and lower. JS is Bedman's farthest reaching air normal. JS by itself is decent, but its true threat lies in conjunction with how you use your air dash. For example, doing a down air dash with JS essentially turns it into a vertical drop attack of some sort. Doing forward air dash with JS essentially has you fly in with a long reaching attack. JS is one of your most versatile air normals due to how far it hits. You will use it a lot to chip away at your opponent. JH is Bedman's multi-hitting buzzsaw attack. This is an interesting attack that doesn't see many use in the general neutral game, but it's excellent for pressure. JH can hit for a total of 6 times, all of these hits are overhead. JH is valuable in creating stressful pressure situations for your opponent if they end up having to block it. I already said that JH can hit 6 times, but the main perk is that it doesn't always have to. The moment Bedman lands, you can go immediately for a 2K, which hits low. As such, it can be difficult for your opponent to quickly switch the guard from high to low depending on how you approach with JH. The key lies with how you utilize your air dash once again. JD is Bedman's weird clap move. This attack is the most specialized of Bedman's air normals and will typically see the least general use among them. JD's primary purpose is that it's an instant overhead. If done right after jumping, it will be able to hit anyone who is crouch guarding. You need to red Roman cancel or have a prior setup to properly get a meaningful confirm off of JD. JD is also useful to score knockdowns on reasonably high altitude opponents. Conclusion. This is a basic overview on Bedman's normals. Mastery of his normals is key to being effective with them. The same could be said about any character. Here are a few general things to consider. Nearly all of Bedman's standing normals are jump cancelable. This means that you can easily transition from your ground pressure into an air game. Bedman's air game is largely variable due to his versatile air options. This is where mastery of your air normals and their relationship with your air movement is important. Bedman transitions from ground to air very gracefully and vice versa, but the core of what makes this all work as a fighting game character is his normals. Knowing what they do is one thing. How do you use these normals to beat the shit out of your opponent and make them scared is another. Use Bedman's ground normals as a gateway to take to the air, and his air normals with his air movement to add more to the mix. That's essentially the core of his game plan. Goodbye.